Truth tellers have always been punished for speaking out. It's a pattern repeating throughout history. From Socrates being forced to drink poison, to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X being killed, anyone who dares challenge the powerful risks everything. If a black celebrity with millions of followers uses their influence not just to entertain, but to educate and expose corruption, you'd think their fame would protect them. In reality, it only paints a target on their back. The system that profits from their talent grows hostile the moment they stop staying in their lane. When black celebrities stop merely entertaining and start revealing hard truths about racism, media manipulation, or industry corruption, the response from the powers that be is almost always the same: discredit, isolate, silence. Before the age of TikTok and Instagram Live, before hashtags could amplify voices in an instant, there were trailblazers who tried to warn us at great personal risk. They spoke truth to power when doing so could get you killed. And for many of them, it eventually did. Prince, Tupac, Michael, they all warned us. We just didn't listen. Come along with us in this video as we go back and connect the dots. Let's look at some of the most iconic black figures who used their platforms to call out injustice, only to be systematically silenced. Each of them had a warning for us, and each paid the price for trying to deliver it. But before we begin, we encourage you to subscribe. Our channel exists to preserve the messages that were silenced, the warnings that were ignored, and the people who paid the price for telling us what we needed to hear. If that resonates with you, then join us and help us carry this forward. Now, on to the video. In the 1940s and 50s, Paul Robeson was one of the first black celebrities to feel the full wrath of the system for speaking out. Robeson was a Renaissance man, an internationally renowned singer, actor, and athlete with a law degree. He had fame, wealth, and the ear of millions. Instead of basking comfortably in entertainment, he chose to use his voice to fight racism and injustice. Robeson spoke out against lynchings in America, supported labor rights, and condemned colonialism abroad. He testified at union rallies, gave fiery speeches at peace conferences, and used his fame to shine a spotlight on oppressed people worldwide. He refused to remain silent about the deep hypocrisy of a country that claimed to defend freedom while denying basic human rights to its black citizens. He even challenged President Truman directly, demanding federal anti-lynching legislation in a face-to-face meeting. When Truman refused, Robeson walked out. He praised working-class solidarity and anti-colonial struggles and spoke favorably of the Soviet Union's racial policies at a time when the U.S. was segregated. In his eyes, the struggle for justice transcended borders, and that was precisely what made him so dangerous to those in power. First came the smear campaign. Robeson was labeled a communist sympathizer and a threat. His appearances in Europe and at international peace conferences were twisted into accusations of disloyalty. The U.S. press, once celebratory of his achievements, turned hostile. Media outlets branded him subversive. J. Edgar Hoover's FBI opened a file on him and began collecting surveillance, with agents planted at his concerts and public events. In 1949, after speaking at the Paris Peace Congress, where he asserted that black Americans would not support a war against the Soviet Union, a country that had not oppressed them, the backlash exploded. Headlines accused him of treason. White veterans rioted to block one of his concerts in Peekskill, New York, assaulting attendees while police stood by. It was a message: you've gone too far. The real issue wasn't his allegiance to any foreign ideology. I was his refusal to know his place and stay silent about black oppression. So the government stepped in. Soon, the U.S. State Department outright revoked his passport, trapping him inside the country as punishment for his views. This was a death blow to his career, since Robeson had been performing to sold-out audiences worldwide. Major newspapers stopped covering him. Concert venues canceled his shows. He was denied the right to travel, to work, and in many cases even to speak publicly. The entertainment industry and the government worked hand in hand to mute this powerful voice. By 1950, at the peak of his artistic powers, Paul Robeson was blacklisted and surveilled by the FBI, his recording and performing career effectively destroyed. Robeson went from selling millions of records to not even being allowed to travel overseas to perform. Imagine the frustration. One of the greatest performers of his generation, reduced to singing at a few black churches because no one else dared host him. But Robeson's punishment wasn't only professional, it was deeply personal. He was dragged before Congress, in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee, where they tried to break his spirit, yet he remained defiant. "You want to know if I'm a communist?" he challenged them. "My father was a slave, and my people died to build this country, and I'm going to stay here and have a part of it just like you." Robeson's fearless testimony only intensified the backlash. The message from the government was clear: speak out, and we will ruin you. And ruin him they did. By the mid-1950s, Paul Robeson lived under virtual house arrest in his own country. No passport, no concerts, rarely on the radio. A giant forced into silence. Though he eventually got his passport back years later after court battles, the damage was done. The stress and isolation took a heavy toll on Robeson's health. He spent his final years a shadow of his former self, his legacy almost erased from mainstream memory by design. It was only decades later that the world began to remember and honor him again for the hero he was. Robeson never stopped believing in justice, but the system ensured his voice would reach as few ears as possible during his lifetime. In his testimony to Congress, he stated plainly, "I am being tried for fighting for the rights of my people." And he was right. His story set the template. After Paul Robeson, any black star who considered using their spotlight to illuminate truth had to see what fate might await them. Robeson's silencing was overt. Government officials openly targeted him, but others would face more covert attacks. In the 1960s, as the civil rights movement surged, voices of change faced violent ends one after another. Activists like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were gunned down when their influence grew too large. Even influential black entertainers of that era met suspicious fates. Soul singer Sam Cooke, who had just recorded the hopeful anthem, "A Change Is Gonna Come," was shot to death in an incident so murky, many still question the official story. The pattern was emerging. If you were black, famous, and pushing too hard against the system, you became a target. Fast forward to the 1970s, the era of global political awakening and musical revolution. In Jamaica, Bob Marley had become the voice of the oppressed, a beacon of unity, and a potential threat to entrenched powers. Marley's reggae music spoke about rebellion, peace, and emancipation from mental slavery. He preached a one-love philosophy that resonated with the downtrodden worldwide. But in a Jamaica caught between Cold War rivalries, Marley's massive influence was perilous. He tried to stay politically neutral, but his message of empowerment inevitably was seen as siding with change. If one man could get both the poor of Jamaica and youths around the globe thinking about justice, that man was dangerous to those who profit from division and inequality. The system's response to Marley's rising influence was not subtle. In December 1976, as elections approached in Jamaica, Bob Marley planned a free concert aimed at easing political tensions. Powerful forces took notice. Just 2 days before the event, gunmen stormed Marley's home and opened fire, wounding him, his wife, and his manager. It was a miracle Marley survived. Who sent the shooters? Many suspected it wasn't just local gangsters. At the time, Jamaica's democratic socialist government under Michael Manley was friendly with Cuba and seen as a threat by the United States.
You got the one with the view of the water? And a big backyard for Barkley? Nice. We're fine.
Rumors the CIA had a hand in destabilizing Jamaica to prevent it from going communist. Marley's calls for unity made him an obstacle to those stoking chaos. In fact, one of the gunmen caught was linked to the opposition party and allegedly admitted he was contracted by the CIA in exchange for drugs. If true, that means a foreign superpower's agents tried to kill a musician because his music and charisma were that powerful. Marley refused to be silenced by the attempt on his life. Astonishingly, just days later, with bullets still in his arm, he went on to perform at that concert. On stage, he said, "The people who are trying to make this world worse aren't taking a day off. How can I?" His bravery electrified fans and likely further alarmed those who wanted him gone. Marley lived a few more years after the shooting, but the forces against him seemingly switched tactics from bullets to something much quieter. In 1977, Bob Marley was diagnosed with a strangely aggressive form of melanoma under his toenail. By 1981, at just 36, he was dead from cancer. It was chalked up as a sad twist of fate befalling a brilliant artist, but whispers grew over the years that maybe it wasn't just fate. There are those who believe Marley's cancer was not natural at all, but deliberately induced, a cleanup operation after the failed murder attempt. One eerie conspiracy theory claims a CIA agent gave Marley a pair of boots, gift-wrapped with a poison-coated needle inside. According to that tale, when Marley tried the boots on, he was pricked and infected with a cancer-causing agent. Fantastic as it sounds, this story refuses to die in the public imagination. It's easy to see why. Marley's sudden illness was awfully convenient for those threatened by his influence. Mainstream historians call the idea of Marley's cancer being weaponized a myth, and perhaps it is. But consider the broader context. Marley's impact had grown beyond music. He had literally stopped a civil war. For one night in 1978, during the height of political violence in Jamaica, he brought Prime Minister Michael Manley of the People's National Party and opposition leader Edward Seaga of the Jamaica Labour Party on stage at the One Love Peace concert and forced them to shake hands. The island had been torn apart by U.S.-backed Cold War tensions, with Manley leaning toward democratic socialism in Cuba, while Seaga aligned with Western interests and U.S. capital. Kingston was flooded with gunmen, many of them tied to political factions, and blood ran in the streets. Bob Marley's presence threatened to cut through that chaos with unity. He also gave hope to oppressed people far beyond Jamaica, with songs like Get Up, Stand Up. It's not far-fetched that some very powerful players wanted him out of the picture. Whether by conspiracy or not, Bob Marley's fate was the same pattern. Speak truth, unite people, then die mysteriously young. Like Robeson, Marley had also been under surveillance. Declassified documents later confirmed the CIA kept files on him. When he died, officialdom said, no foul play, just as they always do. Yet a legend was lost right when he was arguably at his most dangerous to the status quo. Marley tried to warn us about love defeating hate, about spiritual freedom. Instead of heeding him, the system, perhaps aided by malign intent, ensured his voice would never grow any louder. Watching Marley's funeral procession wind through Kingston, with tens of thousands mourning in the streets, one might think the world would realize something was very wrong. How many revolutionary black voices would be cut down before people noticed the pattern? But the machine that silences dissent is nothing if not adaptable. The next battleground would be a new cultural movement rising in America's ghettos, hip-hop, and it would bring forth another outspoken superstar destined for martyrdom, one who explicitly saw himself following in the footsteps of black revolutionaries before him. His name was Tupac Shakur. By the early 1990s,
entering treatment at a recovery center can feel overwhelming.
Shakur had risen as one of hip-hop's brightest and most controversial stars. He wasn't just a rapper spinning rhymes about street life. He was the fiery, poetic voice of a generation of disenfranchised youth. Tupac was raised by Black Panthers. Activism and resistance ran in his blood. He read Malcolm X and spoke about the black struggle with rare passion in interviews. His music, while often mislabeled as gangsta rap, carried deeply political messages about racial inequality, police brutality, and poverty. Songs like Brenda's Got a Baby, Keep Your Head Up, and Changes confronted listeners with uncomfortable truths about America. He often said he wanted to start conversations that would spark change, and he did, maybe more than he realized. Young black kids hung on to Tupac's every word, but so did others who felt threatened by what those words could ignite. As Tupac's fame grew, the establishment's eye turned toward him with suspicion. The FBI and law enforcement have a long, sordid history of monitoring and sabotaging black leaders. A program known as COINTELPRO infamously worked to neutralize figures like MLK and the Black Panthers in the 60s. Tupac, carrying the Panther legacy and influencing millions of youth of all races, fit the profile of someone authorities would keep tabs on. Indeed, it later came out that the FBI had surveilled many rap artists, including Tupac. In public, politicians railed against him. He was censured for violent lyrics and depicted as a menace to society. Vice President Dan Quayle even singled out Tupac's album after a young man cited it as an influence, saying, "There's no reason for a record like this to be released." The media, playing its part, focused endlessly on Tupac's legal troubles and run-ins with the law, painting him as just a thug, never mind the deeper context of his message. And yes, Tupac had plenty of legal entanglements, some self-inflicted, others arguably engineered. He was repeatedly arrested and prosecuted in highly publicized cases, from a shooting involving off-duty cops, where charges were eventually dropped after it was revealed the officers were the aggressors, to a sexual abuse conviction that landed him in prison in 1995. Tupac was convicted of first-degree sexual abuse, stemming from allegations made by a woman who claimed that he and others abused her in a hotel room. Tupac maintained that the encounter had been consensual and denied orchestrating or participating in any abuse, insisting that his only mistake was leaving the woman alone with his associates. Despite his protests, he was sentenced to up to 4.5 years and served about 9 months before being released on appeal. Each incident ate away at his revolutionary potential, forcing him to spend energy fighting charges or serving time instead of fighting the power. No, it's not that Tupac was an angel. He had a turbulent life and often fed into the thug life persona. But one has to wonder how much law enforcement attention he got precisely because he spoke what he called the truth. In an eerily prophetic moment, he once said, "I never have a fear of death. It's my only fear of coming back reincarnated," as if he sensed a premature end coming. After prison, Tupac's life accelerated like a speeding car with cut brake lines. He signed to Death Row Records for protection and clout, but that move plunged him deeper into danger. By 1996, at just 25 years old, Tupac was dead, gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, the murder of such a high-profile celebrity on a busy street after a Mike Tyson boxing match should have been solved quickly. Yet here we are decades later, and his case is still not closed. Police at the time claimed they just can't figure it out, despite dozens of witnesses and even camera footage from the casino and streets. How convenient. Many in the black community and beyond have long believed there was more to it. It smells like either staggering incompetence or an intentional cover-up. Some theories posit that Suge Knight, Tupac's label boss who was in the car with him, orchestrated it. Others blame a gang retaliation. But a chilling theory backed by some investigative journalists and former insiders suggests the hand of the FBI or law enforcement in neutralizing Tupac for good. They had motive. Tupac's influence was growing exponentially, and he was talking about uniting gangs to politicize them. The COINTELPRO playbook of the 60s that targeted black messiahs hadn't disappeared. Tupac may have just been the next name on a long list of black visionaries marked for elimination. Is that too extreme to believe? Consider the aftermath of the shooting. Evidence like surveillance tapes were allegedly confiscated by police and never released. Basic investigative steps seem botched. It's as if solving the murder wasn't a priority. For law enforcement to have images of Tupac's killers and still say they have no suspects means only one thing: they don't want to solve it. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, herself a former Panther, certainly suspected a conspiracy. The tragedy is that whether by conspiracy or street violence, the result is the same. Tupac's voice was silenced at 25, just as he was evolving from rebel rapper to potential social leader. In 2023,
I'm a doctor, and my passion is to alleviate arthritis pain using nothing but natural methods. Can you guess the top 3 foods that I would recommend you to eat? The first...
3 decades after Tupac's death, authorities arrested Dwayne "Keffi D" Davis, charging him with first-degree murder. Prosecutors identified Davis as the shot caller who orchestrated the killing, although Davis pleaded not guilty and claimed he wasn't even in Las Vegas at the time. His defense argued that other figures, including individuals associated with death row record security, may have been responsible. In early 2025, his legal team requested more time to gather testimony from key witnesses they say could prove his innocence. The judge agreed, postponing the trial until February 2026. Davis remains in jail awaiting trial. Even now, the case continues to raise more questions than answers, with shifting narratives, new allegations, and decades of institutional silence still clouding the truth. The justice Tupac deserved remains elusive. He tried to warn us in his lyrics about corruption, inequality, and the need for change. He openly criticized a system that has money for wars but can't feed the poor, urging listeners to see the hypocrisy. For that, he was ridiculed, attacked, and ultimately many believe he was murdered. The public mourned, made murals, treated him like a folk hero after death. But did we listen to what he was trying to say? Or did we let the sensational headlines distract us from his message while he was alive? By the mid-1990s, we had already lost a pantheon of black truth-tellers. Paul Robeson was silenced into obscurity. Bob Marley dead of cancer. Sam Cooke and others dead in sketchy shootings. And now Tupac killed in plain sight. You'd think that would have set off alarms. You'd think the pattern would be undeniable. And yet, the machine rolled on, hungry for its next target. The late 1990s and 2000s would see this pattern reach perhaps its most high-profile case with the biggest entertainer on earth. A man who had been a global superstar since childhood, now ready to use his immense platform to speak uncomfortable truths. The world knew Michael Jackson as the king of pop, a dazzling entertainer who broke every record and racial barrier imaginable in the music business. For most of his life, Michael stayed away from overt politics in his art, focusing on universal themes and incredible showmanship. But as he matured, especially by the late 1980s and 1990s, the toll of being a black artist at the mercy of a powerful industry began to wear on him. Behind the scenes, Michael was fighting epic battles for artistic control and fair treatment. By the early 2000s, he decided to go public with some of what he had seen. And that's when the media, which had spent decades building him up as an icon, decided to help tear him down with a vengeance. Michael's first act of rebellion was subtle but significant. He bought the publishing rights to a huge catalog of music, including songs by the Beatles, giving him leverage very few black artists ever had. This made him a massive asset, but also a threat. He had something the industry's power brokers wanted. Then, in 2002, during a dispute with his record label Sony, Michael did the unthinkable. He spoke out against the record industry's exploitation of artists, even calling out Sony's powerful CEO by name. At a fan rally in London, a fed-up Michael Jackson stood on a stage and blasted the greed and racism he'd experienced. He cited the history of great black performers who were chewed up and cast aside by record companies. The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown is that the story ends the same. They are usually broken, torn, and usually just sad, because the companies take advantage of them. They really do, he told a shocked crowd. He then calmly announced that he was leaving Sony Music, having cleverly fulfilled his contract. I'm a free agent, and they're very angry at me, he said. So the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. In that moment, Michael basically blew the whistle. He exposed how labels sabotage artists who won't bend. This was a black superstar openly calling out powerful figures and accusing them of manipulation. The response was swift. The press that had once worshipped Michael now amplified every negative angle. He had already been a tabloid target over his changing appearance and eccentric lifestyle. But after he challenged the powers that be, the narrative about him truly flipped. Suddenly he was not just Wacko Jacko, but a criminal suspect.
All right, peace and love, y'all. Peace and love to everybody on the sound of my voice. Welcome to the haters. Instead of trying to learn something, you hate. I get it. Right? So, I realize I'm getting more famous. I be checking my analytics. I'm literally like hitting in other countries. Not only am I getting famous online, I'm getting famous in the real world, right? It's like people from London, Japan, and they going back to these countries and they talking about me because they got readings by me, by mistake, right? So I asked myself, who's calling?
We're calling to inform you that a new lawsuit challenging the U.S. tax code has helped to temporarily ban collections on past.
It's like the government calling my phone. And this is what I was talking about. I was like, eventually, of course, jealous ass niggas from the hood got problems. Family members, people that I cut off, they got problems, But then, you got the government watching you. And if they're not watching me, they will be. But it's like, you got the government watching you because first of all, you gifted, right? And then second of all, you're a truth teller, right? Been sirens? So, been sirens? Okay. So then I asked myself, I say, self, is any of this shit worth it? Right? That was confirmation that the government watching me. So I'm on like their radar. Right? And I'm like, I could take Jesus. So Jesus came here to die for our sins, right? He hung on the cross and died for our sins. Yet, the whole world lived in sin. Jesus came here to die for our sins. But yet and still, the world lived in sin. Martin Luther King put his life on the line so black people could have equal rights and all people could have equal rights. But yet and still, you got black people killing black people. You got black people hating black people. The reason why you don't get another Tupac or Bob Marley, because the artists already know what happened to artists that speak out. And I could see, like Michael Jackson was the biggest star in the world, right? One of the biggest, people are faint for Michael Jackson, right? When he died, nobody did nothing. When Tupac died, nobody did nothing. When Prince died, nobody did nothing. The world just keep on going, whether we here or not. Right? So I'm like, you got recording artists that really don't talk about politics or political issues. They sing about universal things like love and relationships and sex. Why? Because it's safe. It's safe. As long as you ain't a black man openly sleeping with white women, and you ain't gonna piss nobody off like Chuck Berry. Right? So, I already come from a rough background. I already come from being betrayed by my family. I already come from getting betrayed by people I got kids with. Right? The groups that be on this channel now stem from my ex-wife and her group. That's where all these people came from. Of course I got haters from the past, but all these people that be on this channel leaving these comments, that's these Eastern Stars, that's these Mason groups. Right? And they really jealous because whenever you get haters like this, that means your name is ringing bells. If your name not ringing bells, nobody will stalk your page, nobody will take their time to try to start a beef with you, or nothing like that. But when you start ringing bells and getting attention, that's when it all comes. See, good attention is good. There's a lot of people that show love, but all attention ain't good attention. There's a lot of people that watch with hate and envy. Then you throw in religion. It's everybody that believes in something different. So whatever you speaking about, and let's not forget that they burned people by the stake that had spiritual gifts. In the past, they called them witches. Right? So we really born in a fucked up world. We came down. This is hell. Planet Earth is hell. It is hell. You could look at Martin Luther King. You could look at all these people they just named. They gone. At least they did burn shit down for Martin Luther King though when he died. But they still got him though. You know? And I believe, you know, the government got Martin Luther King, but Jesse Jackson was right next to Martin Luther King. Can't tell me Jesse Jackson didn't know what was gonna happen to Martin Luther King. And it's shit like this. When I say stuff like that, it made me a target. When I talk about Jesus being black and God being black, it make me a target. When I talk about the devil and the tricks of the devil and people that sold their soul to the devil, it make me a target. Now I could easily get online with my psychic gifts and just talk about love. You know, like the safe readers that don't talk about shit. I could be one of them tarot card readers. Oh, Capricorn, let's look into your love life for the day. You know? And I wouldn't be a threat. I could literally make songs about love and sex. And I wouldn't be a threat. But no, not me. I gotta talk about what I really see. I gotta speak from the heart and be honest. And unfortunately, being honest pisses a lot of people off. I don't hear Jay-Z talking about too much. I don't hear Jay-Z talking about too much. Maybe that's why he rich like that. If you straddle the fence, you know, really don't talk about what's going on with black people, don't talk about the government, you know, don't talk about wars, don't get into politics, you know. And then maybe you don't gotta die when you're young. You could live and keep your money if you play the game right. Right? So I asked myself walking home today, I said, you know, eventually they gonna get you. And when they do get you, they gonna make up all type of bullshit. Like, oh, he was on drugs. Even though I openly tell y'all I don't do drugs. Oh, he was drunk, it was alcohol. And I openly tell y'all I don't drink. Oh, it was the diabetes. Yeah, I openly know I'm vegan. My doctor, Dr. Sabi. Everybody I looked up to. I was Tupac's biggest fan. I was really that young boy in the diaper system with a boombox. I hear you, Tupac. You know? Just for me doing shit like that, breaking down numerology and showing people how alive the universe is, make me a fucking target. So I asked myself, I could live a long life, or I could live on the wall, or I could live in a song, or I could live on a t-shirt. But at the end of the day, I ask, is it worth it? Because I truly, this ain't a money grab for me. I do what I'm led to do. I truly want to see people wake up. I truly want to see us in power. I'm a Capricorn sun, Pisces moon. Martin Luther King was a Capricorn sun, Pisces moon. And then I look at Martin Luther King, sometimes I'm like, all that shit he did was in vain. Of course, you know, I work in the school, I see the black kids, I see the white kids, the Spanish kids, everybody in school together. So a lot of their hard work did pay off, but I also see kids that don't even give a fuck about education, that play in school, you know? I see us use the nigger word every chance we get. I see the number one cause of a black man dying is another black man. Then I think about Martin Luther King. I'm like, damn, you died. His mother got murdered too. Early. And it's like, things have changed, but some things never changed. I think about Jesus hanging on the cross. And that might be put, you know, it's funny because it might be put on me to have to walk that road as the greats. And sometimes being great, it means being a human sacrifice. You know? It's like we all gotta die one day. Might as well die for something, right? I don't know. I was thinking about that today. It's like the more famous you get, the more eyes on you. Pretty soon I'm at 1 million views. After that, I'll be at 2 million views. You know? Pretty soon, I'm dropping an album, you know? It's gonna pick up a lot of traction. And I asked myself, you know, You have to speak the truth like how you're telling it. Some people appreciate it. Most of the shit make you a target. So, do we stand up and fight for what's right? Do we stand up and fight against oppression? Do we fight against racism? Do we fight against lies? Do we fight against our right to believe whatever we want to believe? Or do we just adjust to the system? Because we know what they do to people that speak out. They murder them right in front of your face. And they tell you it was a drug overdose. So when I talk about my ancestors, that include these people that lost their life to try to change the world. Let's see what the spirit world got to tell us. If y'all see me fade to black, it's because I felt like it wasn't worth it. If y'all see my message change and I just talk about love readings and I don't really get that deep. If my music, just talk about, the basics, it's because I just decided people wasn't worth me giving my life for. All praise to the Most High God, Spirit guides, angels of the white light. Why did y'all bring me down to this planet? I have seen the ultimate betrayals. Hated by my family. Hated by my kids' mothers. Lied on. I'm in a shelter right now with my whole family watching. A lot of these motherfuckers being trying to be my family members. Watching me in the shelter. Some of these the same people on board cars. Some of these the same people I'm spending inheritance money on. Same people I grew up in the house with. Same people I took on to shows and on tours with me. Same people that was smiling in my face when it looked like I was about to be getting a record deal and being famous. Same people that watch me. So I've seen the worst in life. But yet still God been with me. Right? So, all praise to the Most High God. Shout out to my ancestors. Now y'all know when I talk about my ancestors, y'all know what I'm talking about. That's all these fallen soldiers. People that been fighting the Black Panthers and so on. People that been fighting for years against oppression. People that chose Harriet Tubman. People that chose to put their life on the line and see other people get free. Why'd y'all send me down here? All praise to the Most High God. Why'd y'all send me down here? Why'd y'all send me down here? To teach about love? To teach about love? The lovers? See how Earth Angel Gemini energy? To speak about love? I'm a Gemini North Node. Why'd y'all send me down here? To speak about love? Why'd y'all send me down here? Why'd y'all send me down here? Hold on. Why did y'all send me down here? All praise to the Most High God. I keep coming up. The Two of Pentacles. Capricorn energy. That's somebody that go with the flow. That's somebody that don't fall, that don't break, and make it look easy. With all this shit thrown at them. See, the water's in the background. The boat. That boat ain't supposed to be all the way up there. I mean, it's fucking crazy outside. It's crazy shit going on, and I'm still standing on one foot, balancing these coins with my hat on. My hat ain't fall off. Actually make it look real easy. So I'm here to inspire people that come from crazy backgrounds that they can make it. And somehow I make it look easy. I want y'all to look with your spiritual eye. Look all that going on in the background. The wind blowing, the storm, and the boats up there. And he's still like hustling. He on one foot. His shoes ain't come off. His clothes ain't fly off. His hat is still on his head. And you know we like to tilt our hat. I got a hat on now. Tell me more. Why you send me down here? See? This represents creativity. Life path number 3. So, this is about going through life and surviving and showing people they can make it and expressing it in a creative way. The Empress represents creativity. Tell me more. I'm moving 3s. Why am I down here? Queen of Pentacles, huh? Queen of Pentacles, show love to, that's Capricorn energy. Show love to the world. Could be political, focus on the coin, loving, you know. So I'm here to Cancer energy, I'm a Cancer rising. This is called a willpower, determination to be successful. So I'm here. God sent me to inspire people. 2, 3, 5, 5, 8. He sent me here to inspire people, to let them know whatever background that you come from, and if you work hard and you're resilient, you can make it. So, dear Most High God, will they take my life? Will they ever get to me to take me out? Because we know no man is invincible. Will they ever get to me to take me out? With the silence? Will they ever get to me to take me out? Will they ever get to me to take me out? Will they ever get to me to take me out? That's betrayal. Possibly by a lover. That's betrayal. Possibly by a lover. What about this betrayal? Justice. That's me in my seat. Libra energy. 3 and 11, 14. Betrayal. Getting justice for betrayal. Justice for betrayal. The Page of Wands. celebrate. For some reason, I put it like that, who knows? And then again, who cares? Who cares? Anybody care about Tupac dying? Anybody go to jail besides the doctor for Michael Jackson dying? Who even cares that Jesus died on the cross? Because the world's still sinning. I guess at the end of the day, you gotta fulfill your purpose. You know? At the end of the day, you gotta fulfill your purpose. So, I'll be juggling that in the next couple of days. Is it worth it? You know? So next time I see y'all again, peace and love. One.